after the good visit to St Agnes Island and finding the Agow. It's on the way back now, a short boat ride. Right, leaving it behind, I thought the idea of a sea journey may sort of make it a little bit more interesting. Obviously television companies often show things by helicopter, but you don't see the beauty of seeing things on ground level. To show things from the sea as well. It's going to be a little bit rough and bumpy though, I warn you. Stayed in a tent last night. A lovely, enjoyable rest and sleep. Praise God for that. Settled down for bed about 10:10. I think it's a lot less rougher than yesterday. Although the start of the journey yesterday wasn't too rough, but it turned out rougher later on. The boat following more or less, and over here you've got Samson, I believe it is. Maybe not. Sorry if I made a mistake. St Mary's we're approaching. That's the garrison part here. Part that I've got to do part of again later on. Back to St Mary's, and now it's another case. I believe they're doing things in between drizzle. I just spoke to somebody in the tourist board in St Mary's, and unfortunately they were very, very uncooperative and very arrogant as far as I'm concerned, where I said, look, I can give you free publicity for the tourist authority, for the old facility, just come here, just say a few words. Oh no, we want to see what you've done and all that type of thing. Well, I had to tell him, look, you know, if you have a wedding, you know, they're not going to say to you, well, we can't perform this wedding unless you've been married before, you've got a track record of you're married. And I said, well, you know, if one day this goes on television and somebody buys it after I've done all the hard work all on my own, well then I'm not going to be interested in you and your sport quality. generally speaking, those big companies would just simply fly over with helicopters. They wouldn't bother. But still, it doesn't hit the calls at all. I mean, these people, to be honest, must be honest, be truthful. They really want to know you and everything. When you've done all the hard work and when you've achieved something, then they want to know you. But I'm not going to want to know them, as simple as that. I'm not going to want to know them. I told them, look, it's going to bring extra tourists into the Isles of Scilly, but these people are arrogant, you know, that you can't get through to them, as simple as that. They're so arrogant, you just cannot get through to them, unfortunately. It's just like somebody who says, I want to take the country to war, regardless of what public opinion says. You can't get through to such a person. They want to have their war, they have their war, simple as that. So a little bit like that, unfortunately. Anyway, we'll go up the top there in a minute, do the recording from that part up here, and then go up part of the garrison and finish. It shouldn't be too much I'm doing today. Well, there's a rainbow here, just going to move on, but the rainbow, that's a bit better. Okay, I don't think I'm allowed through those gates, it's a prohibited area. But here's just a look from the harbour end. Okay, I'm at the other side now anyway. I'm going to be going up there. Dreaded high garrison hill. So there's not really too much more to do, as I said. There's only a small part that didn't come out on St Mary's. We've got that, so at least I've got the sunshine, praise God. Okay, now this is the old garrison place here. Few spring flowers, but I'm sure this was blooming before maybe last blooming. Okay, and getting up that dreadful hill. Starting to look really tranquil now. The old detention cell, whether they use, well, I suspect they're not using it now really. I think go in this way before, so that way. Explore, you could say. Take a look in here then. Wow, sort of like a small exhibition in here. All the old beer barrels. I suppose they're not at the moment all with beer. So we'll do one at the back soon. This one absolutely nothing in here. I'll show you behind the door. Absolutely nothing. To peep in the detention cell before I carry on. Okay, this is one of the old forts up here, no longer used as a fort, but used as a restaurant. And a hotel, of course, Starcastle Hotel. There you go, that's free publicity. Everything looks so beautiful. in a way it's a shame there's not many tourists here at the moment. Okay, got the canyons down below. And it is a shame really in a way that I'm not going around the whole of St Mary's doing this all over again, because it is rather spectacular, praise God. Close up on the cannons. Now there was a few birds I heard singing earlier on next to a house, but it was a little bit complicated with them sort of in the twigs to actually catch them, so I just left it. That's on the recording, of course, catch them on a recording. Right, that is Samson over there looking rather spectacular. You wouldn't think the place is totally covered in gorse over there, very strong gorse. Doesn't look it for me, it just looks like green grass. I need to really go back and be able to visit the North Island as well at some point. Okay, there's nothing really more to do on St Mary's now, unfortunately. Just gaze on this fantastic beauty of God's creation. Looking over towards Bishop Rock Lighthouse. Yeah, I can spot it in the haze. Well, that's it then. It's a real pity. As the guy in the tourist room said to me, I cannot endorse anything you're doing. So, under those circumstances, neither can I endorse what the tourist authority do. If this recording is a success and people like it and they flock to the Isles of SciLLy as a result of seeing it, I did say I'd want to take the credit for that. Well, in one way or another, you know, I expect you'd say, oh wow, look, this fantastic thing has brought people coming in, but not be prepared to say a few words himself. Now, of course, money talks, and if I was to say, oh, here's some money, come up and do it, you can be really sure that he would want to do it, because a lot of services on the Isles of SciLLy are based on tourism and, you know, bringing the tourists in, like boat trips and what have you. So, you know, money talks. But I think, to be honest, even if I won 6 numbers on the National Lottery, I wouldn't want to pay them after the way he spoke to me. Afternoon. In St Mary's. That's the lighthouse on St Agnes, which I believe is no longer used because of the Bishop Rock Lighthouse now. Of course, I sincerely have confidence and faith and belief in what I am doing here by making this documentary, the Isles of Scilly and coast of Cornwall. And nobody has said, right, I'm going to pay you to do it. Nobody's commissioned me to do it, but I do it because I have the confidence, I have the faith that this is something I believe in, and I believe in very strongly that it's going to be a success. And like a group that I once started up, unfortunately that wasn't a success, but at least I had the ideas, I had the visions. I advertised for some backing singers, and nobody really wanted to come along to try to help make it successful. They all would want to come along once you're successful, but when you're not successful and you've got to do the work to get successful, you know, that's different. So I advertised for some girl backing singers. I did get some. I haven't totally given up on the success of the record that I paid to have made. Hopefully one day I get it out on the internet and sell copies there. But this is something I really do believe in. I enjoy doing it as well. Not many people would, you know, do this and put so much effort into doing this, and knowing that nobody's paying you at the moment to do it, but in future there's a good chance you'll make a good bit of money out of doing this. That the product will one day go on television and people can see the hard work you put into it, and it'll be nice to be able to say, yes, people supported me along the line and helped me to achieve that. Oh no, look at that lighthouse. So fantastic and tranquil. It's getting really cold out here, unfortunately. And look over at it if I can. Now, of course, the campsite I was at is on the other side of there. Yes, this does get a lot of wind up in this particular area, Garrison area as it's called. Very much wind up here. Even it can be calm down in town, it can be very windy up here, or blustery, gale force, or whatever you want to call it. So that's what we do now. Have my tea in a minute. I'll leave all this fantastic creation behind. Praise God for that.